and I'm with Adrian and Jason for our monthly update. And should we jump into the game?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is CodeSpells.
CodeSpells.
Hot new game.
And it's showing off a cool new UI last month, which is now finished and actually it's out there, right? Like it's that was the last update we made, right?
Yes, it's out there. It took us a lot longer than we thought it would, which was in some ways very frustrating. But we had to rebuild lots of it and rethink a lot of it.
UIs are always harder than they seem like they're going to be.
It's also way more important in our game than it is in a lot of other games because half of the game is just programming stuff or going through a bunch of spells. So it definitely took a lot more attention than we wanted it to. So that is the main thing that we got done this month. There's a couple of other things. One of the... Actually, we'll talk about that later.
It's a secret.
Start off. Yeah, so here's the game. So you can see the new UI.
Yeah.
There's some more visual fancies in the UI.
All your mana.
Right, so what's going on with the mana bars? Those are totally revamped.
Yes. We oriented them differently, so they're horizontal. And you can see there's a symbol next to each one. So the square is earth, the circle is water, the triangle is fire, and the little diamond shape is air.
Yeah,
so
cool.
When you can see when you cast a spell, there's a line that appears on the mana bar. It's a white line, and that indicates like how much you need to cast your selected spell. So it's just
the
like
white
a
lines
way for you to tell.
Depending on what you have selected, depending on the spell you have selected, the white lines will
change. Yeah. So if you select another spell, like Pull uses less mana, and you can see the little white line moves around on that little corner just a little bit, just a little subtle way to show you what you need to cast that spell, so you know at a glance.
You can also see that that I don't have enough earth mana to cast a spell, so it's red until I have enough.
Yeah.
It's just a visual indicator of like. Sorry, I'm swapping between. We also added a key mapping. So now you have spell wheels, and each spell in the spell wheel can be mapped with 1 through 8. So that's how I was switching between them. But yeah, this is just a couple of, say, a fairly minor thing, but it was something that really frustrated me especially. I really did not like the way that it worked before. So it's a pretty minor thing.
The spell wheel?
Yeah, the spell wheel. So we have spell wheels now. You can have multiple spell wheels, so you can scroll through them.
That's awesome.
But
That is awesome.
We have three spell wheels.
What's on the water wheel?
The water wheel?
Add one. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
So now we have the water one selected. We can either select here, or again, we can click keys since we have water as our selected wheel. So we can do add water and add some water to the world. These have been in the game for a while. So pull water. There's an issue with the normals that I need to fix, which is bugging me. But the water is doing something slightly funky again.
Now, are those the default wheels in the game? Everyone has those particular wheels, or those ones that you've constructed for your?
Yeah, everyone starts with these wheels. So
okay.
You can delete them if you don't like them, but this is by default. It starts you off with these wheels.
Cool.
Yeah, and then we can also go to main here, or we can just click escape, and this is the new interface for all these spell stuff. You can go to your library, and we have all the spells.
Yeah.
So everyone starts off with all the spells by the ancients, which is us.
We're the ancients.
Yeah, we're not that old.
I'm 6,000 years old.
Jason is 6,000 years old.
That's over 9,000.
FYI.
He was born in the year -4,000.
Yeah.
And that's how they used to call it, -4000.
It's great.
Yeah,
That was
definitely
how
called it that.
time was taken back then. The year
It was a different time, you understand?
It was before they invented positive numbers.
Yeah, it took a while. But anyway, so there's filters. You can filter stuff by different things. You can turn these off. You can sort by different things. None of these have errors, so that's a silly thing to sort by. But you can see we're trying to repeat this icon thing. So water is a blue circle. Earth is an orange square. All that stuff.
Cool.
So we're trying to repeat those as much as possible. And yeah, that's pretty much that. You can also, this is also a little bit cleaned up, so you can't edit spells that aren't yours. It just gets rid of a lot of the junk that was in there.
So can you add something to a spell wheel? I'm kind of curious. Like,
yeah. So,
can you add like a fire spell to your water spell wheel? I'm just curious if it'll let you do that.
Yeah, totally. So I don't want to mess up my water wheel, but I'll duplicate it.
Oh, cool. Also
I'll duplicate this and call it water spells ruined by Steve.
And now
I'll find some weird fire spell, and let's replace that one. Let's be a little bit more. Let's do that. So,
okay, cool.
Now if we go back to the game, this is our current spell wheel. Gets cut off.
Oh yeah. No, I love this because you can kind of encapsulate some multi-element strategy inside a wheel.
Yeah, which leads to one of the other things that we were working on that I was going to mention on. This is not out to people yet, but we kind of so up until now we've had different orbs for each of the elements, which we didn't really like. We had some reasons for it, but it almost ended up being meaningless for orbs to be different types. So what we decided to do is combine all the orbs into a single orb type, which helps a lot with like having an orb do multiple actions. So right now this is considered an earth spell, but technically we don't actually have to only do earth stuff in here. So we could say, actually I don't want to edit the spell. Let's make a new spell and come back to that.
Oh, so you can essentially have hybrid spells now.
Yeah, so we can do like, let's do teleport explode. So what we'll do is we'll say we have whenever we hit an object, let's store that object to the last hit object, which will keep track of whenever we get a hit, the last hit world object gets updated. So we'll set the item to that. And then when we activate the spell, we can do an earth power where we'll move that to the orb position, but instead
whoa! I just saw something cool. What was that? What the icon in the top left changed for a second? Was that because?
Yeah, there's
sweet.
an error.
Oh, that is
so
awesome.
It changes when there's an error, and this is not very descriptive, but
orb is not defined. All right. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the JavaScript, it's a little bit more informative. You can kind of see where it's going on, but that needs a little bit more.
Wait, also, isn't this new? I can't remember if we showed this off last time, but you can now look at the JavaScript in game.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that in a second. Let me. So anyway, so I have the. Let's call this. There's actually no real reason that I would have to store this item here. We could. Whatever.
It's clearer.
Call it last hit, and then we'll say variables, and we'll move last hit to orb position, which is pretty cool. That requires 50 mana, so we don't have enough mana. We'd like to show some warnings for that. We haven't done that yet, but say we do 50 mana, and you previously could not do this, but I'll explain that in a second. What's that?
Is it going through?
Yeah, it didn't actually. I need to make it lock to the player. It's not actually doing anything. It's not actually triggering anything. So it was going through the object because we weren't actually changing the velocity of the orb once it hit something. So if we do this, it should block it, and then if I click it, it'll teleport it to where the orb is. So I shoot another one here, I look up there, it should teleport it. I think it might have hit the ground. There we go. So there's an issue where it's hitting the ground, so it's resetting the last hit object to the ground, and the ground can't be teleported. So we can say...
But don't you store last hit object?
Yeah, but it's replacing last hit,
right,
so we need to do an
okay.
if statement here to say if the last hit object is movable, then we'll do all this stuff.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so now when we shoot an object, we'll do this, teleport that guy over there. Pretty fun. Now what we could do is, since we can do fire stuff here, we can also just say move it and then explode it. And that requires 10, so we'll do 10.
Oh, and the icon changed again. This is sweet.
And it.
Yeah, so the icon is now. The icon now shows you that it's a hybrid spell.
Yes. Yeah. So this right
Awesome.
now is kind of so it makes it so that this center thing, the Earth thing, is kind of arbitrary, but we want to keep it just so that you can kind of categorize your own spells, but it's really up to you. If you say that it's an Earth spell, then that's up to you. You could technically make a spell that does no Earth things, that is an Earth spell, but it's all fire mana, so we could do this, and that's fine.
Yeah,
as long as we. It just creates a little bit of a. Yeah. The other thing that happened here that had not happened before is another thing that we did not like was the fact that orbs were losing mana per second. So orbs do not lose mana per second anymore. So you can see that I'm doing the move orb position. That requires 50 earth mana. So I only need 50 earth mana in the spell for that to occur. Since I haven't used up any earth mana up until this point, I only need to do it there. So it's a little bit more clear. Explode as well, it requires 10, so it corresponds exactly. It makes it a little bit more clear how much mana you're using. So it doesn't matter if the spell has been out for a second or 10 seconds, it's just that. That does mean that you can make dormant spells that don't do anything for a long time. So we're going to add a thing up here where you can also set the max lifetime for your spell so that you don't, so that you can set your spell to destroy itself after a certain amount of time. At any point you can also destroy the orb. We have a function for that, so you could just say it here. But if an orb runs out of mana, yeah. So that's one way to get rid of objects. So if at any point an orb runs out of all mana, then it destroys itself automatically. But we're going to set the max time that you can set so that you don't end up with spells that you don't want to last very long all over the world, even if they didn't end up doing what you wanted them to do. We will have a max limit by game mode as well for the spells. So the game mode can say spells can't last more than a certain amount of time, but I don't know, we all felt that it was just a little bit more clean and a little bit easier to understand that.
Cool. So I think today we're gonna let Jason play, or rather, we're going to make Jason play.
He is thrilled.
I love playing the game. I just take my time. I'm not like a performative player, you know. Like I'm not.
Yeah, Jason's worried that he won't be fun to watch.
A power player.
I'm not a performance player. I don't play for speed, you know. I'm gonna restart the thing.
Wait, why are you restarting?
Because it's gonna be nighttime. I don't want it to be nighttime.
Jason's free.
Hopefully that
Okay. We don't judge you for it.
We got this cool new restart button down here. Yes. Great context menus.
It worked.
And it worked. All this
We're gonna
new
also make
UI.
Jason code at least one spell.
I will code a spell. I won't just
That is the name of the games.
look at rocks.
Jason has a go-to spell.
I do have a go-to spell, which I can create.
Yeah,
I think.
You should show everyone your spell.
Though I don't fully understand all that last hit business whatsoever.
Well, you don't need to necessarily, but we'll get there. Well, you know, we'll get there.
We will help you out.
Sorry.
We're here right beside you.
Wow. So,
I'm excited.
yeah, technically. Ooh, this is a good one.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
Virtually.
Nice. Pretty. Okay. We are working hard on a new foliage system so that everything won't be so barren. But we're not making any promises.
Yeah.
We're working on it. We're not sure what it's gonna look like or what will happen when we implement it.
Yeah, so we have a programmer, one more programmer working with us now. So we're expanding the dev side by 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good. So yeah, he started up yesterday, and we'll be working with some stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
And like I mentioned, Steven and I are working on the spell sharing stuff, so we should have that soon. We want to have that this month, but
yeah, somebody posted just this like ridiculously cool lightning spell on the forums,
Yeah,
and
it was really cool.
and it looked awesome. The GIF was just so cool, and I was just sad that I couldn't like instantaneously get it into my game. You know, I want to just press a button and be like, oh, now I got the lightning spell.
Yeah.
So we're working on that.
you make your hot spell.
Let's make a spell. New spell.
You can do it.
I'm gonna call it Toss Rock. Next.
Brilliant.
It's not working.
So close it. That's a bug.
Uh-oh, a bug.
Click on library.
Library.
You probably need to just open it. Unclick Ancients. I think it probably added it, it just didn't open it here.
Oh, there it is. Toss Rock.
It made 3 of them because it didn't actually
Okay,
open.
well, we'll delete that one. Okay, we're showing off all these features. That was one of the. That's like one of those things when they have a demo of something and someone screws up on purpose so they can show a feature.
For some reason, yeah.
Looks like you made too many of those spells.
No,
Try to delete one.
I suspected that might happen, and I didn't. I don't know. I don't know why I haven't thought.
Adrian, I
Okay.
can barely hear you.
What's that?
I was just saying I can barely hear you, so maybe that's also true on the stream.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll.
Change where you were.
Oh yeah, somebody asked about the animation. The animations are totally. They're a little screwed up right now, and they're not blending properly. And also, you know, we're that is a work in progress.
Yeah.
Somebody asked about the walk cycle animation. Yeah. Don't you worry about those animations.
The whole thing is a work in progress.
Okay, so now when the orb hits something. See, I don't know where anything is anymore. What do we got here?
So are you looking for a power of Earth?
I guess. No, I want to say what happens when the orb hits something. So I guess this guy. Elastic connection, but first it has to turn. Up 45 degrees.
It's Jason's hot spell.
This is my favorite spell. Everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on activate, where would that be?
I need some dramatic music I can cue up for moments like this.
All right. On activate, we want to break elastic connection. Okay, so I'm just gonna test it.
I'm excited.
Oh, it's not doing anything.
Yeah, well, it is doing something.
Boop. What happened to my spell? I promise this is an authentic experience. I actually don't know what happened.
So what is it doing?
It's stopping.
Oh,
Boom.
yeah.
Let's make it go fast.
Oh yeah.
Boom. Boom. Okay.
Those other jerks are holding it back.
But those other fools are holding it back. Let's pick up this rock. Let's do a little rock. Bye. Bye.
Oh, tossing rocks.
Okay.
Like
So
golf.
now,
There's also a new.
I want to let it go. Let it go. That's
That
because
was
I just
great.
want to skip it. I want to skip a rock.
Rock skipper.
Like, I just want to play a little rock over another rock game. There we go.
There's a new feature as well in the block there where you can set the strength of the physical connection also.
Okay.
I think yours is set to weak,
Yeah, probably.
which is why they're not
Okay.
picking up too hard.
So,
Tossing rocks around is actually something that Jason spends a lot of time doing.
yeah, it's super fun. And I also always try to make it like I'm always trying to make the perfect like sort of shot. Like if there was a goal, I'd want to be able to shoot the rock, like pick it up and throw it in a direction like a golf ball or something. So,
Yeah.
So someone asked, will it be possible to switch between JavaScript and Blockly? And we are not planning on doing that. So we can go from Blockly to JavaScript, but there is not a. We don't currently have a nice way of going from JavaScript to Blockly. It is potentially possible,
Ridiculously.
but it would be very difficult. What's that, Steven?
I was just saying it's a ridiculously hard problem.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, it would be. We would be able to handle most cases and get it to work, but it would be very difficult. So right now we have it so that you can any Blockly spell you can view the generated JavaScript, but generating Blockly from JavaScript is not something that we're going to solve. So yeah, so there won't be a way of switching between the two on a single spell. Either you make it a Blockly spell or you make it a JavaScript spell. And ideally, we'd like to add other languages at some point as well.
There was a project. Someone was trying to do this. I think that the name of the project was Blockly. It was a pretty cute name, and it kind of worked, but it didn't quite work. Anyway, so people are trying it. So maybe someone will figure out a really good way to do it. Maybe we'll figure out a good way to do it. But switching from the script is definitely doable. Just not back and forth freely.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's not much new on the world in the game right now because we've been focused on this UI problem and getting that solved. So I don't have anything fun like a crazy new object or toy to show off, but we will get back to that soon. So there will be more fun stuff, and I'm working on a bunch of prettying up polish stuff for the different textures and stuff that's already there. And my biggest concern is fixing this darn foliage. And now that someone mentioned it, these animations are driving me crazy.
Yeah, I don't know why that.
It's so weird, like they just pop around in this weird way.
For some reason.
Yeah.
Looks like the animator broke.
Yeah, there's just some things like that happen. Like certain things get changed in the background when we make big changes, so we have to go through, and we're kind of in the process of finding all that stuff. There's the other planet. What else should I do?
Oh yeah, there's another new thing. Someone asked, what about faster orbs and other shapes of orbs? So there is a limit to the speed of the orbs. That is for lots of reasons. So we probably will not have faster orbs. And if we do, we might have a different way of creating them. But that's not currently planned. other shapes of orbs, with this new structure for things, we probably won't have other shapes for orbs either. But we may end up doing. I do want to do a thing where you can set the scale of the orb, either as a temporary thing or as a permanent thing. For a mana cost, you can make the orb bigger, so that then you can do some more stuff with like with on hit getting triggered faster and things like that.
Yeah. Another thing that we're working on is particle effects. Like the game right now is obviously lacking in effects. Like, so we want to show things like what type of mana is in each orb, and you know, the different things by like the particle effect for when you fire it or when you hit something. We don't quite have the system 100% down, but we do have some effects that we're going to be plugging in soon, so things will start to look a little more magical, so that you don't just pop around when you teleport, and the orbs will look pretty fancy, and when a rock, like when a giant boulder hits something, it like kicks up dirt and makes a sound and things like that. Right now it's a pretty silent world, so we are working on that stuff too.
Yeah, mainly our main goal is to get clarity from all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So there is one more thing that you can do that might be fun, is if you want. So if you make, can you start up a new spell?
Sure.
Steven, can you hear us still? Are you still there?
Yeah. I dropped off for a few seconds, but I'm back now.
Cool. So if you can call this pull player in my mouth. Just ruined the surprise. So one of the things that you can do is if you look at Earth powers, and you can see the elastic connection now takes a variable. So in there, you can see that there's elastic connection takes a variable like we did earlier with the teleport. So you can actually swap out that last hit world object with something else. So at the start, so in world object, you can get the player world object.
What?
So what you could do is delete that guy, and then at the start you can do that and just grab onto the player at the start of the game, or at the start of the spell, and then on hit you don't really want to do anything.
Okay.
So on hit, so you can just delete on hit. On hit doesn't trigger when you hit the player, which is, we tried doing that and it was very frustrating to have to always check. We might do an on hit player.
Yeah.
But so you can.
What happens if I go over there? Oh, it's pulling me two ways. It's like a web.
Yeah. So you can shoot and vertical and pull yourself around. There's a little bit of.
I'm getting pulled apart.
Yeah, there's a little bit of frustrating things about it. So it needs some work, but that's one of the things that we have to figure out anyway.
Fire tree. Yeah, I mean, but it's cool because it obviously has a lot of potential for cool spells that you could use to get around the world and do stuff.
And the animations are doing insane.
Yeah, it's doing all sorts of freaky stuff. But
another question was, one thing I noticed was that shooting explosions decreases a bunch of the mana types. So when there's an explosion, it doesn't just hurt you; it reduces your other manas. I don't think we're gonna do that anymore. That was part of the idea that we had with different mana types, but it's a little bit too confusing to do damage of different types. So most damages will just do damage to your health. If there are other things like damage from it being very hot around you or very cold around you, we might make that alter your different manas, but that is probably It's not going to work like it is right now. We're probably going to adjust that quite a bit. We didn't really like that; it was too confusing. But
so let's pick up a couple of these questions here. I'm kind of skimming through. I'm actually going all the way back to the beginning. This one, I'm actually curious about this too. Let me know if you answered this while I dropped off. If the pre-simulation is supposed to pre-simulate always water flowing when we log in?
Well, there are springs which constantly are pumping out water, so the water never. We want there to be rivers as well as lakes. Whereas if we just threw water into the world and let it settle, you would just end up with lakes. But we have springs which emit water so that we can get like waterfalls. See, there's one up there.
And there's a lake to your right as well that generated.
So that lake was generated in pre-simulation, but this waterfall is going to be constantly putting out water and attracting croakers.
So there is a bug right now where some of the water gets lost when you're moving around the world, so that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
But generally, the idea is that we want. We don't want it to just be settled water. We want there to be flowing water around the world. The only reason that we do the pre-simulating is to kind of let it run for a little bit longer.
All right, this is a question we always get, and we answer it even if we don't get it. But what about multiplayer?
So our plan for the Kickstarter is to start that, to have that early next year. So we've started to evaluate some of that, but that is still. We have programming help now, so hopefully we'll be able to plan out a little bit better. But the plan is to get that as early as possible next year. That won't happen this month, definitely. That'll happen soon.
Angolore says November was supposed to be a tournament. This is true, but we thought it would be a lame tournament, so we pushed it till next year.
Yeah, so it was never intended to be a multiplayer tournament. We were wanting to do a
kind of a spell
creation tournament. And our plan was always to do multiplayer afterwards, but there's not. I mean, we still can do a tournament, but there wasn't. Once we have spell sharing and multiplayer, it'll be a much better structure for a tournament.
I love these basalt columns. I love the way they repel the water. That is just the coolest little
we realized
part.
We have to add a little particle effect to them to make it clear. And also, it'd be cool if at night the ones that are on top of the mountains are emitting some cool thing. I really want to make nighttime prettier. Yeah. So I'm thinking about things that aren't just the usual Aurora Borealis stuff, which I always want to put in anyway, but it's like, I don't know. We've all played Skyrim. Let's get something new.
Wait, so do the lakes move when you? Is that true?
Do they move?
I mean, I guess it is true for Angolore, but are they supposed to?
How do you mean move?
Or is there some kind of weird pre-sim? I'm not sure. You just said so the lake's moving on login is normal. I don't know.
Yeah, so that is a bug with the
in fact,
the resolution changes.
We will reproduce that bug right now.
So if you get closer to still water, it freaks out.
Like there.
That is a bug that I'm fixing.
Yeah.
So that same effect happens a lot when you start up a level. So as you get close to
the water, it starts to go a little
tries
crazy.
To reproduce it, and it doesn't do it properly. So that the reason that the water that still moves when you get close to it is a bug. So
yeah,
we're fixing that.
We're working on it.
Are we going to be able to make
complicated
an
thing.
object or something in Earth Magic to lift ourselves up on a pillar or something? General object creation and manipulation.
Well, can you repeat that? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, are we going to be able to make an object or something in Earth ourselves up on a pillar or something? General object creation and manipulation.
Yeah, we have a plan for fire magic to be able to create and destroy objects. We're hoping to get to some of that very soon. We have several plans for fire magic. So someone asked about air magic as well. We're going to work on air magic tomorrow, actually. Part of the transition to having everything be a single orb was to do a lot of air magic stuff. So we'll be rolling that out. I expect to get a good portion of that done before the end of the week. Ideally, we'll have an update in the next week or so. But we absolutely want to have a big update on the 18th, which will have a lot more air magic and fire magic stuff. We also want to try to do a couple of intermediate updates, but I'm not sure when those will happen. For the 18th, we want to have the spell sharing and better versions of air magic and fire magic.
Cool. These arrows are cool. They move the spell wheel up and down in the list.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't refresh the selection properly, which drives me crazy.
But now it's the first one.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So,
Oh yeah. Cool.
yeah, so for the 18th, we want to have a spell sharing, air magic, and fire magic. I'm not sure how many of the fire magic features we'll have, but one of the fire magic features that we are planning to do that is lower priority than other fire magic features is getting creation and destruction of objects. There are some design details in that we're still ironing out, so I don't want to describe it in too much detail, but we do want you to be able to destroy and create objects.
Yeah, and also we've been trying to figure out a way to do a torque connection when you're manipulating objects, so you have a little more control over an object once you pick it up with an earth spell. But that's also work in progress, but it's something that it's torque in progress. Boom. It's obviously something that everybody wants to do. Like you know, picking up a rock and throwing it is cool, but picking up a rock and being able to like manipulate it in the air would be awesome. So
yeah, there's this dream state of the game where we reach where all we're doing is adding new features as we see things that we want, and we're not there yet. We are converging on that. There was a little bit of a detour with the UI stuff because that changed quite a bit of. I mean, it was very important. It changed a lot of what we wanted to do with the UI stuff because it heavily affects the game in a big way, but it was a big detour in terms of the in-world stuff. So we're switching back to the in-world stuff, and we're hoping that by the 18th we can reach a point where we're just adding new features as we need them.
Sorry, I was watching the Twitch stream, and so I was a little behind. I just saw the rock launch because of the little repelling cube.
Oh yeah.
I forgot the stream, and so when I said "whoa," it was probably like really delayed for you. But
yeah,
sorry about that.
You were probably confused as to why we were really excited earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So somebody asked about the Kickstarter staves, and that's actually a good question and relates to some of the other features we will sharing for that, because it's a feature. Giving staves out to just some people and not others is something that we can more easily do with a and a web backend is something we're building for for the spell sharing anyway, so that should be coming out sooner rather than later once the spell sharing is complete.
Yeah, the actual content for the stats is not far from being done. But yeah, we want to make sure that we get them out there in a good way.
Yeah, and we need some way of selecting your staff also, which isn't a huge issue. We can make a simple interface for that. But we do need a way of doing that, which isn't a huge thing. But we are waiting for once we have the back end, that should be a much faster thing to do. But
right.
Yeah, that should be soon as well. We're kind of in a I don't know if you'd call it a sprint, but we're kind of in a sprint right now where we have very specific things that we're trying to get over this week and next week. But depending on how these 2 weeks go, we'll see what we can get in the last week of the 18th. But in that week of the 18th, we want to basically be putting together the final version for. We want a good version out for the 18th, a solid version that has air magic and fire magic. So that's our main focus right now. But we will be getting to stabs very soon.
Yeah. And I don't know if anybody got their art book, or if anybody on the Twitch stream got an art book. But
yeah, and the soundtrack also.
I hope you like it.
Yeah, it was so cool. I loved it. It was just wonderful. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's very strange to be making concept art while you're making the game. Or doing both. Very interesting.
There was one more question that was, can you add a way to generate light? And
aha, yes, because we're running around in the dark.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. That is one thing that we can very easily do. Yeah, we will have a way of doing that.
Yeah, because that would be super cool to like light up an area with a spell.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward for us to do that as well. So, not entirely sure why we haven't done it yet.
Yeah,
it's because I'm lazy.
But like especially like right here where it's foggy at night, it gets super dark around the player, which I have mixed feelings on because I kind of like when video game night is pretty dark and it feels like actual night. And it's cool to have to make spells to overcome it, because at first I was like, well, I'm just gonna make night a lot brighter. But I think in some circumstances it's cool if there is darkness. It's a cool environmental condition to have while you're playing the game.
Especially if you can create light as a spell.
Yeah.
It's really cool to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So definitely think that
cool.
That'll be something that you can do.
Well, I think everyone at home should give Jason a round of applause for playing. He's been resisting it ever since we started doing these live updates.
You know that I play this game every night.
Jason plays the game more than I do.
At night,
That's true, but
at night I settle in and I make spells and I run around because I need to like pick out all the things that are ugly that bother me so that I can fix them the next day.
That's true. I didn't mean to imply you don't play CodeSpells. I meant to imply thank you for playing in front of thousands of people. I know there are only 13 online right now, but we do get a lot of hits on the YouTube videos. So
pretty much thousands.
Pretty much thousands, yes.
Yeah.
No, you do get quite a lot of hits on your YouTube posts. So anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you for playing.
Sure.
Thank you everyone for coming, and we're very, very excited about the upcoming updates.
Yeah.
And multiplayer next year for sure.
Yeah, have fun playing with this new UI. It makes the game like 100 times better, I think.
Yeah, it was something that we, from the start, were really frustrated by, but we kind of just kept dodging because we knew that it was going to be what we like to call a death pit.
The sun's coming up.
And it was a death pit, but it was absolutely worth it. So yeah. Anyway, thanks everyone. Pretty good.
All right, see y'all next time. Merry Christmas in advance.
Yeah.
Happy holidays, everybody. Bye.